Thank you, John. I'm Anne van Houten from Bluewater in the Netherlands. And during my presentation, I'll tell you a little bit more about our background as an offshore oil and gas company, and how this has led us to the development of a floating platform for any tidal turbine to improve the economics. And I've promised John to do this all in 7 minutes, so I'll cover the main points. Please do come up to me if you have any more questions. So Bluewater is a privately owned company from the Netherlands. We're based close to Amsterdam. And we're an offshore oil and gas company. The core of our business is floating production. The ship is an FPSO. We design, own, and operate them. 3 of them are actually operated from our office here in Aberdeen. And it may look like here that it's actually going off to somewhere, but it's not. It's stationary. It's hooked onto a turret to one point, and there's a whole system down in the bottom that stretches out, sometimes as far as 50 kilometers. And we make them to stay there until the field is done. Bringing it back to port would be too expensive and a loss of revenue, really. The other thing we do is single point mooring system. These are marine terminals between a tanker and shore. We have them floating as well as bottom mounted. From that experience, we have learned one very important lesson. Of course, also with our FPSOs, we've learned the same lesson, being that when you do something on land and it costs you €1, it's already 10 when you do that exact same thing on the water. But it's 100 when you do it underwater. So one thing that we always try to do is to do as much as we can on land, already as little as possible on the water, and only what's strictly necessary underwater. And this has led us to our development in tidal. Looking at these turbines, we thought, what should we do to install them? Should we do it floating or bottom mounted? With our experience, we believe that it would be much more efficient to have a floating platform. And these are the main features of it are that it's easy for inspection. Until the turbines are completely reliable and don't need any inspection, this is going to be key in the industry. There's a deck house with all the electrical equipment, and it's easy to get there with a normal rigid inflatable and not a specialized vessel. And it's also independent of water depth. And especially using 2 turbines, the structure is relatively low weight. And it's independent to any turbine. So it can be smaller horizontal axis turbines, vertical axis turbines, or larger horizontal axis turbines. With this structure, these are 2 1 megawatt turbines, so the whole structure is 2 megawatts. An important feature is that the turbines can be lifted out of the water. This is either for minor maintenance on site, but also for towing it from harbor to site. Once you've got one unit, it's easily scalable up to a large farm. An extra benefit in these farms is that you can share the mooring points. So where a single unit needs 4 mooring points, once you get to a 100-unit farm, so it is 200 turbines, you only need 130 mooring points, which is a very big savings on your initial investment. So to sum it all up, first of all, the costs go down. Your initial investment goes down significantly. Throughout the whole lifetime of the project, operation is because you're more accessible, the operational costs go down. At the same time, having the turbines in the upper part of the water column, your production goes up, which makes a big difference over the entire 20 or 25-year lifetime that you have. And also, we've designed the platform such that it directs itself straight to the current in the most optimum way. And maybe even most importantly, the risks go down. You have a less chance of downtime, and you use no diving in ROVs, or as little as possible. And I'd like to conclude with a joke. This is Tom Cruise. Some of you may see him. This is Tom Cruise from one of his first blockbuster movies, Risky Business, where he actually exposes himself to quite some risk while his parents are away for the weekend. And it doesn't go too well, but over the decades, he had plenty blockbuster movies, and one thing he did was floating in the air in Mission Impossible. And he actually managed, what looked to be impossible, he managed to make it possible, floating in the air. And we suggested the same thing, but then floating in the water. So what's next? We've developed this floating platform to improve the economics based on our experience. What's next is to replicate our parent company model, which is co-developing tidal sites like we do for our FPSOs, or providing our platform to turbine suppliers or other project developers. And the start of this will be our first single unit demonstration for which we've secured a berth at EMAC. And we want to do this through a joint industry program in which we involve all the important future stakeholders of a farm. So from the beginning onwards, we want to form a strategic partnership that brings us to large-scale tidal farms. That was it. Please come up to your questions later on.